Hi guys, welcome to my channel again. Today I'm going to be looking at a couple of articles that I found on the internet, and they're both relating to how people deal with debt and how they control debt and how they've solved debt even. So the first part of the video is going to deal with a guy who is in major debt, and the second part of the video is going to deal with a lady who managed to resolve her debt and in fact ended up saving money for a deposit and bought a house. And I'm going to basically give comment. The second part of it is actually quite funny because some of the things that this lady did to save money was quite over the top. But anyway, got the job done. So without further ado, this is the article that I'm looking at. It's on BBC Three's website. Again, this is a UK-based website, and as you can see, we've got here, I'm 29 years old and I'm in £60,000 worth of credit card debt. Now, some people who don't live in the UK don't know how much £60,000 is. £60,000 would be enough to put down a deposit on a house, and in some parts of the country you can buy a 2 or even a 3-bedroomed house for that amount of money. So yeah, that is a lot of money. A lot of people don't earn that much money in a year. Most people don't earn that much money in a year. So let me see, he's saying that he's 24 when he got his first job in finance. His peers wore expensive suits. They had a lot of money to go for holidays, weekends away, posh dinners, etc. So when he first got his big job, he felt pressure to spend money that he probably didn't actually have. And that is, again, one of the big comments that I give on people who are trying to get out of debt or who aren't even in debt but they want to save money. Don't feel the pressure to spend money. Just because your friends are spending doesn't mean that you have to. Where I work, my colleagues routinely go on holidays, and I actually don't like the idea of that, but hey, if their money, they can spend it. But myself, because I'm saving money hard to get my third rental property, so I've got to save the deposit, I can't be going on holidays and just wasting money on this, that and the other. So everything for me has to have a return on investment value. So that's a tip. Right, so I worked in sale, a lot of pressure to socialise, get to know people, going out 4 nights a week. Now this 4 nights a week, I know that a lot of people, what they do is that they go out nights and they buy a lot of alcohol, and in my previous video I specified with alcoholic beverages, you've got to be careful because they can be expensive. People go out to nightclubs, bars, etc. and they spend £100–200 in a night, and that is a lot of money. If you're going out 4 nights a week and you're spending say £400–600 a week on that will add up. So yeah, so you don't have to go, you can just go home and have a night in and do something else. You can go to the gym, it'll build your body up, as opposed to going out and drinking the night away, and the gym's going to be way cheaper as well. But yeah, I mean, you can do other things. You shouldn't feel peer pressure. Right, like quarter of young people in England and Wales, I'm constantly in debt, and £60,000 that I owe, which excludes student loans. So it's quite possible that a student loan could be even 20,000, 30,000. It's possible. So this guy could be in some serious debt here. The difference is with student loans, the money doesn't need to be paid right away until you earn a certain amount, and also the interest rate is very good on a student loan. But on credit cards, the interest rate on credit cards is ridiculously high. Unless you've got a 0% balance transfer on a credit card, you should aim to not pay any interest on a credit card. So thinking about it makes me feel sick to my stomach. So obviously it's affecting his mental health, and they're talking about a national debt helpline. So obviously this is a serious issue, and when you've got a national debt helpline set up by the government, that is obviously a serious issue. So debt is something that needs to be tackled. Instead of being honest about my situation, I applied for a credit card with a £4,000 limit. £4,000 limit isn't too much, but nevertheless, I mean, you can pay interest on that. His downward spiral started when he was 21, failed to save any cash over the summer, which isn't really a big deal when you come out of university. He didn't save cash over the summer, which is fine. I mean, you've come out of university. I used a £1,000 overdraft to help fund a 6-week unpaid internship with a charity, which is fine. I mean, that's for his career. He paid £1,000 for it, that's fine. When they took me on afterwards at £12,000 a year, paid intern, Very low wage in London, yes it is. I quickly found out that once I'd paid the rent on my room, there was barely enough left to cover my food and travel for the month. And then he got his £4,000 credit card. That's when it all started. So just a tip, if you are on a low wage, first of all, there's nothing wrong with being on a low wage because you've got to start somewhere. If you are on a low wage, try and get your expenses as low as possible. It means you have to live frugally. There are places that you can live called HMOs. Basically, you can rent rooms in a house. It's a shared accommodation situation, and that usually works out cheaper. So look for that. If you've got the option, then you can also try and live in with your parents. Just pay them some rent. That's going to help out a lot. You can move in with friends. Again, pay them some rent, and that way you can reduce your expenses. By the time he got to 23, I tried to pay my rent. Paying rent with credit card is very dangerous. If it's part of a grand plan, it's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But if that is your only form of paying your rent, then financially you're going to go downhill. The main problem is that credit cards have a very high rate of interest, and the payment wouldn't go through. It felt like gut punch. Avoiding checking bills, this is not a good way out. It's going to go down. I had no idea how much cash I was really spending. Now his mum is bailing him out, agreed to loan my rent money. As a retired teacher, she was in a position to bankroll me, and I felt like I'd failed her. A month later, I applied for the second credit card. Applying for credit cards, there's nothing wrong with it. Credit cards are fantastic, and I advise everyone to do so. However, you do not use credit like this. Basically, he's spiraling into a debt situation that's getting worse and worse, and what he's doing is he's getting credit cards to bail him out of the current situation, knowing that in future it's going to get worse, and then he'll need to take out another credit card to bail him out of that situation. If you get credit cards, then make sure that you pay them off regularly so that you don't pay any interest on them. That's number one. Number two, credit cards are great to boost your credit rating. So that's why I say take out credit cards, but make sure that you do not pay any interest on them. The debt I'd racked up, which seems small now, so you got another credit card with a £5,000 limit. Sometimes when I couldn't see a way out, I'd turn to internet forums where people were talking about owing a lot of money. Some were speaking about losing their homes. So mentally it's affecting him. After that, he now decided that obviously he's got some experience under his belt, and then he decided to apply for a job in banking, finance, and he's got now a decent salary, 37k. And now in theory, if he's only got 2 credit cards with debt of around maybe 9,000, somewhere in that region, if you've got a 37k salary and you're a single man, you should be able to pay back all your debts, right? And he's even said that I paid off some of my debts with my first paycheck, which is good. That's what you should be doing. Aha, okay, so basically he's sharing a flat with his friends, and his mum lives far away, and he did consider moving in with his mum. Okay, fair enough. But what he should have done is looked for an even cheaper place. Basically, he's struggling now to pay his rent, and even though now he's on a decent salary, he's still struggling to pay rent. So now he's 26, so this is 5 years on from where his story begins. Friends started to get engaged, and then he decided he was going to be attending stag do's, weddings, went to Las Vegas. He was the best man. So basically he's incurring a lot of costs, and these are costs that he doesn't really need to incur. He could basically just tell his friends, can't afford it. Simple as that. There was one where he was the best man, and that's fine. He should probably go to that one. But other than that, he shouldn't be going to stag do's. Peer pressure, whatever, I don't know what this is. But obviously it's cost him more money. It came to thousands of pounds, which is a lot. All went on a credit card. Every time I paid for something I couldn't really afford, like a new pair of trainers or a posh takeaway, I got a small adrenaline kick. I mean, this is not good now. Now he's actually getting a buzz by spending money that he doesn't. Every time my salary went up, my debts jumped an equal amount. I knew a crush would come. I didn't want to think about it. He lost track of which credit cards were at their limit. Okay, so this is important. If you are going to have multiple credit cards, make sure that you keep track of how much is owed on each one, and make sure that you pay them on a monthly basis so that you don't incur any interest. The main thing to do though, especially when you have multiple credit cards and you're spending on all of them, is keep track on what dates the money is going to go out of your current account. That's number one. And number two, on how much each credit card is taking, so that way you won't get overdrawn and you won't get penalties from your bank. So here it says about 2 years ago, so now this is more recent, his friends started to buy houses. Yep, I mean, obviously as you get older, you decide to buy a home. It was then that it dawned on me that I had 6 credit cards, some of them maxed out, and my bank loan. So he's even got a loan now. 6 credit cards. I've probably got 6 credit cards, but they're all under control. I'm not paying any interest on any of them. Not like this guy. Okay, so that's the introduction of his story. That's how he got into debt, and now he's slowly paying it back. I think he's phoned up a debt line who have advised him to create a spreadsheet of all the credit cards and debts and basically bring his lifestyle in control, which is basically what I advise as well. So that's the first article. So that was quite a serious. So at this point I'm going to hit the pause button. My original plan was to comment on 2 articles in a single video and keep the video length short, but the comments on the first article got a bit long, so what I'll do is I'm going to split this video up into 2. So the second part will be commenting on a lady who has gone way over the top in terms of what she does to save money. That's actually quite a funny article. So what I'll do is the second part of this video, I'll put a link in the description so you can click on that and go straight to part 2. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll see you in part 2.